Lan and Moiraine find help in an unexpected and unwanted quarter. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve from Valhartv, and today I'll be reviewing The Wheel of Time Episode 3. So this episode starts out with Nye slipping away from her Trolloc captors and finding Lan and Moiraine. And Lan is really surprised about this. And he's like, "How did you find me?" She's like, "I tracked you," but he's like, "What?" He's like, "What kind of answer is that?" And I thought this was really funny because Lan asks her like a couple of times, and she's just like, "Well, I said you could ask, but I'm not. I didn't say I was going to answer." So I, I cracked up laughing. I'm like, "Man, she got you on that one," and he's all like frustrated because he wants to know how he got tracked. And I understand because he doesn't want people following him, but she was able to follow them, and it was really great. And so then we end up cutting to Rand and Mat, and they come across the mining town. Now, the mining town's in this, like, gully that has, like, a little lake on it. And apparently there's, like, a boat ferry that they could take if they really wanted to go back home. And Mat's really tempted by that, too. And this is where we really get to see, like, everybody's motivations, like, in this episode. And, like, the town, I thought, looked actually really cool. It looked like it was a medieval, rundown mining town that they've been there for decades, toiling in the dirt, digging out materials and stuff. And even the bar owner, she ends up mentioning about, how everybody there knows each other and they're all going to end up in the same dirt and she wants more. So I really thought this was really good. And, like, this episode, again, is more focused on Mat than anybody else. And we really, in this, get to see what he's willing to do to get back home. He even talks about begging, borrowing, stealing, things like that. And really, I mean, it's like, dude, do you not understand, the consequences for your actions? And I don't think he has to, you know what I mean? Because he's old enough. But at the same time, I don't think he cares. I think he's just willing to do whatever he can to provide for his family and get back home in this. So I really thought that was very interesting. But at the same time, Mat and Rand learn the hard way that you can never trust like a pretty face, like especially in this. And they really find out that there's really no safe place for them. And we get introduced to a new character in the mining town, which I thought was pretty cool. But we also cut back to Perrin and Egwene. Now, they encounter some wolves again, and then they end up having an unexpected but welcomed encounter, which introduces us to a new group. But this is where I have to kind of nitpick a little bit. Perrin has a really bad wound on his right leg. We saw it in last episode, and the fact that it's not getting any better and it looks like it's getting worse, to me, says that, are you really going to be able to run on it without limping? Without being able to show that you're actually hurt? You know what I mean? And to be able to walk on it without limping and stuff, I mean, either this dude has to be, like, super strong, or it's just not good acting, I hate to say it like that, but when you have a bad wound, I've never had a wound that bad where it got black or green or, things like that. But when you have that type of wound in that type of situation, I don't really think you're going to be running very, very much. And that's what I had an issue with in last episode. But I was like, okay, it's just starting to get bad, really. So I'll let it go. But this episode, I'm like, no, he's literally running on it like all over the place. And he jumps into water and things like that. I'm like, there's no way that this wound can't be festering now, you know what I mean? There's no way that this dude is going to run away from wolves. So at some point, he's got to tell somebody. Because this is going to be bad for him and he's going to end up losing a leg or something. I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going with this. But this episode does slow down again. And it starts to do separate character building. And it really leans heavily into the character relations and the motivations that are driving these guys. So I really did like that. And plus, I did like this. Again, we get a big scope in a sense of how big this world is. and what is really going on outside of, the Two Rivers village. So I really did like that. The ending leaves us wondering if the kids will ever get to their destination safely, and who the new characters are that they run into at the end with Lane and Moiraine. There, they run into some of the sisters that they were following, or they were trying to find, not follow. Sorry. So we're left with all these questions. So hopefully they'll get answered in the next couple of episodes, but we'll have to wait and see. So again, all the effects in this were practical. There wasn't really anything wrong. They did some firewood chopping, things like that. So there wasn't really anything major for special effects, which is completely fine. You don't need them in every episode. The locations I thought were actually good. I thought the town looked really awesome. The bleakness of the landscape looked good, so it gives us a sense of either it's winter or there's just nothing really growing around there, So I did like that. And the performances, they were fine. The acting was fine. I had no issues with it. Again, this episode was a little more about Matt and the things he's willing to do, so he's kind of the standout character, but again, this was more towards his character than anybody else's, really. So hopefully they'll get into other characters as well and do more with them and not just keep leaning towards him. So this episode does the character building like we talked about before, and the relation building with it. And it shows, what they're willing to do to get where they want to go. So I really did like that. I really did like that fact. But I also like the fact that this really shows whether there is a place of safety or not for these kids. It's basically you either do or you die. At this point, they either have to keep moving forward or they got to figure out what else to do, because it's not going to go well for them. And I think they're starting to figure that out. Like if they can get back together, there'll be safety in numbers versus just them being on their own. So hopefully we'll see more of what's going to happen in the episodes to come. So, and I can't wait. I've actually enjoyed this series so far. I would give this a 7.5, 8 out of 10 again. This was good backstory building, good character building, good motivations and relationship building. So I really can't wait to see the next episode that I believe comes out on Friday. So if you guys like what I do, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Take care for now, everyone.